Elections, they aren't just a noise. They're a conversation, a really serious one between the people and the people who want to lead them. Every single vote is a signal. It tells a story of hope, of frustration, of a very specific need. Our job is to listen to these signals, to decode this conversation. And today, we're going deep into the Tamlu constituency of Nagaland to really understand the story its people are telling. But here's the thing. To understand the politics of a place, you first have to understand the life of its people. And life, well, life is rooted in the land itself. Tamlu isn't just a shape on a map. It's hills and rivers. It's villages connected by some very, very difficult roads. It's a community that is defined by its connection to the soil. The political story, it always begins right here. So let's be absolutely clear. This is not a map we're looking at. It's a promise of representation, a promise of governance, and a promise of a better life for every single person who lives inside these lines. When we analyze a constituency, what we're really doing is auditing that promise. Okay, let's get into it. Here's how we're going to break this down step by step, building a complete picture from the ground up. We'll start with the human reality, the heartbeat of Tamlu. Then we'll get into the hard data, the signals and the numbers. After that, we'll dissect the mandate itself to understand why things are changing. Then we'll lay out a blueprint for governance and finally connect that whole plan to its ultimate purpose. So, first things first. Before we even look at a single number, we have to understand the texture of daily life. See, politics isn't some abstract game. It's about the friction people feel every single day. So what is the real human story behind the data in Tamlu? Well, the reality is one of struggle. We're talking about extreme rural isolation. And think about what unreliable roads really means. It means a sick grandparent might not get to a clinic on time. It means a farmer can't get his produce to market. It means when the monsoons hit, entire villages can be completely cut off. Erratic power? That means a child can't study after dark. A limited water supply? That adds hours of hard labor to a woman's day. And simmering underneath all of this is the quiet desperation of the youth. With unemployment in Nagaland hovering at around 20%, a whole generation of educated young people feels like their future is just stalled. These aren't just political issues, they're life issues. Okay, so now let's see how this reality, this daily friction, translates into numbers. How does a community facing these struggles express itself when it's time to vote? They speak, and their votes are their language. We just have to listen very, very carefully. Just look at that number, over 92%. In 2023, the voter turnout was 92%. Think about that. Despite the impassable roads, despite all the daily hardships, the people of Tamlu came out to vote. This is not apathy. This is a powerful, unified scream to be heard. It's a community saying, we are here, we are watching, and we demand a response. Now this is the core dashboard. It tells a story across 16 years. First, look at the turnout. Always above 90%. Incredible. Now follow the journey of the NPF. From a tiny share in 2008 to a strong challenge in 2013 to an actual victory in 2018 with over 42% of the vote. And then, 2023, a complete absence, 0. The NPF didn't even put up a candidate, and that created a massive political vacuum. The ruling NDPP alliance was expected to walk away with it, but an independent took the seat. This table, this is where our entire strategy begins. And this chart really drives home the most critical trend. The victory margins, that's the gap between first and second place, they're getting smaller and smaller. From over 13 percentage points in 2013 down to just 4 points in 2023. What this tells us is that the era of easy wins in Tamlu is over. It's now a fight for every single vote. This is a battleground of inches. So the big question is, why? Why are the margins shrinking? Why on earth did an independent beat a powerful state alliance? To find the answer, we have to dissect this mandate and really understand the deep shifts happening with the voters. And the answer is right here. Look, independent candidates won in 2008 and again in 2023. That sends a crystal clear signal. Party loyalty is not guaranteed. The people of Tamlu care more about a credible local candidate who gets their issues than they do about a party flag. So the NPF not fielding a candidate in 2023, that was a catastrophic mistake. It left a huge vacuum. And that 42% vote share they had in 2018, it didn't just vanish into thin air. Those voters went looking for a new home, and most of them found it with a local independent, not the ruling state party. And this is the fundamental lesson from Tamlu, boiled down to one sentence. State-level alliances, sure, they're powerful. They have resources, they have machinery, but local trust is decisive. You can have all the power in the state capital, but if you don't have the trust of the people at the village level, you will lose. Trust is the final currency of politics here. And you know, that trust, it has to be built on a foundation of dignity. Treating every person with respect, engaging in responsible public speech, these aren't just fancy ideals from our Constitution. They're the practical bedrock foundation of any real connection with the people you want to serve. It's the only way to build something that actually lasts. So, with all this in mind, let's do a clinical assessment. Let's look at the strategic landscape. For any political force trying to win in Tamlu, what are the strengths you can build on, and what are the weaknesses you absolutely must fix? What we see is a real tension here. Deep strengths fighting against critical weaknesses. On the one hand, a party like the NPF has roots going back decades, a powerful, organic connection to the local FOMA community. But on the other hand, the weaknesses are severe. The trust broken by not showing up in 2023 is a deep, deep wound. Plus, you have internal party splits and this feeling that they need fresh, young leadership. Now, this creates clear opportunities. Those tiny margins prove that swing voters are up for grabs, and there is real frustration with local issues. But the threats are just as big. A dominant state alliance with huge resources, and, as we've already seen, the very real threat of strong local independence shaking everything up. And this brings us to a really important way to think about it: inside factors versus outside factors. The outside story is all about the big state government, the national schemes. But the inside story, the story of Tamlu, is about the specific grievances of the FOM community, the roads, the power, the jobs. It's about the morale of the local party workers. It's about the influence of the church networks. In Tamlu, the election is won or lost on the inside. Analysis is crucial, but it's not enough. We have to use this analysis to build a clear, actionable plan, a blueprint, not just for winning an election, but for rebuilding trust and actually delivering governance. So what does that path look like? Well, it begins with the right messenger. We call this archetype the young tribal steward. Now, this isn't about one specific person. It's about a profile, a respected local leader between 35 and 45 from the community, someone who people already know has integrity and energy. This is the kind of profile that can refresh a party's image, signaling a new generation of leadership that's still deeply connected to its roots. And from there, the strategy has 4 logical steps, and the sequence is absolutely critical. First, you have to start with action. Solve real problems now. Don't just make promises for 5 years from now. Start small, visible projects that show you're serious. Only then, step 2, do you introduce the right messenger, that young tribal steward. Once you've established that credibility, step 3 is to reconnect with the grassroots. Rebuild your village committees to listen, not just to campaign. And finally, step 4, you communicate all that work intelligently, using the tools that actually reach people in these areas. And you know, this act of listening, it comes with a very modern responsibility. When someone shares a grievance with you, it isn't just a complaint. It's sensitive, personal information. Under India's laws, that data must be handled with the person's consent, and only for the purpose of actually solving their problem. This isn't just about following the rules. It's about building an ethical, trusting relationship with the people. And that brings us to the final, and I think the most important part of our analysis. We have to elevate this whole conversation. We have a blueprint to win, yes, but to what end? The path from politics must lead directly to purposeful governance. And this is the ultimate truth of Tamlu. In a place where 92% of the people vote, they are always engaged. They are always watching. You don't just win a mandate every 5 years. You have to earn it every single day. You earn it one village at a time, one repaired road at a time, one solved problem at a time. That's the only path. So we leave you with this question. What is the true purpose of a political mandate? Is it just to hold on to power, or is it a sacred trust to deliver on promises? The answer to that question will define the future of Tamlu. If you want to become a people-centric leader and uplift your constituency, get in touch with blueprintstrategies.ai at mgr@blueprintstrategies.ai or call 080-4204-1602. Purpose beyond politics.